backhanded?
A little bit.
It's the truth.
It's a little
It's like
backhanded.
every time that they're courting on the show, I'm like going, oh gosh, okay, good. I can
Your
relax.
use of the word apologize feels very extreme and very forced to me.
The moment the cameras cut to the living room, you could feel the tension in the air. Kody sat there, calm, almost too calm, hands folded as if nothing could shake him. But his eyes were calculating, scanning each wife like he was weighing exactly how much truth to reveal to each one. Christine, sitting quietly across from him, watched every subtle movement, every carefully chosen word. She had seen this before, the way he spins stories, shifts blame, and keeps everyone off balance. But this time, something felt different. You could see her mind working, connecting dots that the others hadn't even noticed yet. The way Kody described the money for Robin's house didn't match what Janelle and Mary had said in past confessionals. The contradiction was subtle at first, almost hidden behind his calm tone and spiritual phrasing. But Christine recognized the pattern instantly. He was playing the same game he had been perfecting for years. Divide and conquer, tailoring the truth for each person, twisting it slightly depending on who was listening. And then came the line that made her freeze. Kody mentioned the house funds again, talking about it as a gift, a gesture for the family. Something simple and selfless. But Christine remembered Janelle's words from seasons ago, a quiet confessional that suddenly sounded like a confession in hindsight. That money wasn't a gift. It was a loan. They expected repayment. And now, here on national television, Kody's story and the reality of what had been said before didn't match at all. The room was calm, almost serene, but Christine's stare said it all. This wasn't about a misunderstanding. This was manipulation. Calculated, repeated over years, and now it was exposed for anyone watching to notice. Something shifted in the air. You could almost hear it in the silence between words. The wives didn't yet grasp the full weight of the moment, but the audience did. Social media would explode. Viewers would replay this scene, freeze-frame expressions, compare past interviews, and notice the cracks in Kody's narrative. And underneath it all, the legal implications were there, waiting quietly. Misrepresenting money as a gift or loan on a house, conflicting statements captured on camera, a paper trail hinted at, but now public. Did Kody's secrets just cross a line on national TV? Christine's gaze didn't waver. She leaned back slightly, letting the contradiction hang in the air. No one spoke. Robin smiled faintly, unaware of the storm forming behind Christine's calm eyes. Janelle's brow furrowed, memory stirring. Mary remained quiet, processing what she thought she knew. And somewhere between those words, viewers could sense it. The repayment of that so-called gift wasn't just a small detail. It was a thread that could unravel everything. Before this episode even began, the story was already loaded with tension. Over the past seasons, viewers had watched the Browns navigate complicated relationships, finances, and property decisions that seemed simple on the surface, but were anything but. The Hash Knife House, Robin's home, became a central piece of that tension. From the start, the money behind it was a point of quiet friction. Janelle and Mary had stepped in with home equity lines to cover down payments, fully expecting repayment when things stabilized. They had treated it like a loan, something practical, necessary, and understood among themselves. But Kody's version always painted it differently. On camera, he framed it as a gift, a generous act for the family, a spiritual gesture that supposedly tied everyone closer together. Over the years, that framing caused friction the audience could feel, even if the wives tried to hide it. Janelle's careful spreadsheets, Mary's quiet logic, and Robin's soft compliance all intersected with Kody's shifting stories. He had mastered subtle manipulation, one thing to one wife, another to the next, all designed to keep control. Conflicting statements, small lies, selective truths, this had been happening for years. Every time the family made decisions about properties, money, or priorities, viewers could spot the pattern. It wasn't just miscommunication. It was a strategy, and it left the wives caught between loyalty, trust, and confusion. Christine, long since outside the inner circle, had been observing these dynamics unfold for years. She remembered conversations, confessionals, and meetings where the story changed depending on who was in the room. She saw the inconsistencies clearly, and now she was in a position to call them out. The subtle tension had been building for months, and the audience could feel it. Each disagreement, each pause in a conversation, each faint hesitation told a story the wives themselves weren't fully aware of yet. All of this history set the stage for today. The past decisions about Hash Knife and other properties were not just old arguments. They were a foundation for what was about to happen. And what had been simmering quietly for years was about to explode in front of everyone, on camera, for the world to see. Social media chatter would flare, fans would dig through old episodes, and every past statement would be pulled back into the spotlight. And right now, as Kody prepared to sit down with each wife again, the tension was thicker than ever. Each word, each expression, each calculated pause could trigger reactions the family hadn't anticipated. The stage was set, the audience was watching, and the history of manipulation, financial tension, and divided loyalties was about to collide with the present in a way that no one could ignore. Today's events were poised to shatter the fragile balance, leaving questions, accusations, and emotional fallout in their wake. Kody sat in the middle of the room, arms wide, voice calm but commanding, speaking with the kind of charm that had kept his family in line for years. To Robin, he spoke softly about stability, about the importance of holding the property to protect the kids. His words were careful, measured, almost tender. She nodded, trusting him, believing in the plan he laid out. But the moment he turned to Janelle, the story shifted. Selling too soon, he explained, would waste money. Patience was key. Timing was everything. Janelle frowned, unsure, but she agreed, unwilling to fight alone. Then he spoke with Mary. This time, it was framed around fairness, about not punishing Robin or her children by making a rushed decision. Mary listened quietly, the weight of years of quiet compliance settling on her shoulders. This was Kody's method in action, the strategy Christine had recognized long before anyone else could see it. One story for one wife, a slightly different version for the next. Each tailored narrative was designed to control outcomes, to keep the family moving along the path he chose. It wasn't subtle miscommunication. It was deliberate, practiced, and precise. The emotional responses were telling. Robin's trust, Janelle's hesitation, Mary's quiet agreement, all reflected a mix of loyalty, fear of conflict, and confusion. The wives didn't always compare notes in real time, and Kody relied on that isolation. Each wife reacted according to the version she was told, unknowingly playing into the next piece of his plan. Then there was Christine, sitting on the sidelines, observing. Her eyes followed every shift, every word, every subtle change in tone. She had left the inner circle long ago, but her understanding of the pattern had only sharpened. She saw the loops, the contradictions, and the selective truths. She recognized the strategy for what it was: manipulation layered over time, designed to keep her former family fragmented. Wait till you see how each story clashes in real time. As the conversations progressed, the contradictions became impossible to ignore. Robin's understanding of urgency didn't match Janelle's caution, and Mary's sense of fairness didn't align with either. The camera captured it all. Every micro-expression, every slight pause, every unspoken question. The tension was visible, thick, almost tangible. And Christine, ever observant, began to name it aloud. Her voice was calm, precise, but cutting. She outlined the pattern Kody had used for years, one story to one wife, another to the next, all while maintaining the appearance of unity. The wives listened, stunned, as the truth landed like a weight on the room. And then came a confession that would change everything. A single statement simple in words, yet loaded with implications, pointing directly at the heart of the family's contradictions and the financial decisions that had been carefully hidden in plain sight. The balance of power, trust, and truth had shifted in a single hour. What happened next would leave the family and the audience reeling. The conversation shifted, the room quieting as the focus turned to the Hashknife house. The air felt heavier, as if the walls themselves were listening. Kody had always framed the funding as a gift, a generous act from the family to Robin and the kids. But past confessions told a different story. Janelle and Mary had long explained that the money was a loan, something to be repaid when circumstances allowed. On camera, the contradiction hung between them, sharp and undeniable. Robin's voice broke through the tension. Calm, almost casual, she said, "We already paid Janelle back." The words were simple, but the implications hit like a punch. A gift is not supposed to be repaid. If the money had been documented as a gift, then repayment turned it into something it wasn't. The legal lines blurred in that single sentence, and the wives' reactions were immediate. Janelle's eyes widened. Shock, disbelief, and a flicker of anger crossed her face. Mary's jaw tightened, her hands folded over one another, a quiet storm of frustration and confusion visible in her posture. Kody tried to pivot, talking about family unity, God's plan, and trust. But the cameras didn't lie. The tension was recorded, time-stamped, preserved in a way nothing in the past had been. Every viewer watching could feel the shift. What had once been private financial decisions were now public, and the contradictions were clear for everyone to see. This one sentence could change everything for the family. Robin's admission wasn't just a minor detail. It was a crack in the story that had held for years, a statement that exposed a deeper issue. If the money was a gift on paper but treated like a loan in practice, then the legal definition of mortgage fraud could come into play. No one had to explain it fully yet. The audience understood the weight of what was being said without a lecture or a law book. Meanwhile, the reactions in the room spoke volumes. The wives glanced at one another, processing what they had just heard. Confusion, betrayal, and realization flickered across their faces. The carefully constructed narratives Kody had relied on for years were unraveling before their eyes. Christine, as always, observed silently, noting every detail, every discrepancy, every tension point. She knew the ramifications, but she let the moment play out, letting the inconsistencies speak for themselves. And as the scene continued, the subtle cracks began to widen. Cameras captured them all, and viewers would not miss it. Social media was already waiting, ready to dissect every word, every look, every micro-expression. The inconsistencies weren't hidden anymore. The world outside the living room was about to weigh in, and the family's private decisions were no longer private. The room felt electric. Janelle's hands trembled slightly as she folded them in her lap. Her eyes darted between Kody and Robin, disbelief written across her face. Mary sat silently, but her clenched jaw and tight shoulders betrayed the storm inside. Robin remained calm, almost detached, as though she didn't fully realize the weight of what had just slipped out. Christine leaned back, her gaze steady, observing the patterns she had recognized for years. You feel their confusion as if you're in the room with them. Every glance, every shift, every barely audible sigh carried a story of loyalty, frustration, and betrayal. The tension wasn't just about money. It was about trust and the slow realization that Kody's narratives had always been carefully orchestrated. Each wife remembered moments from the past, conversations that now felt manipulated. Janelle thought about her countless confessions, the times she tried to assert clarity, only to be met with explanations and excuses that sounded convincing at the moment. Mary recalled quiet nights wondering if she was overreacting, doubting her own instincts. Robin considered her own role in the family, the responsibility she carried for her children, and how easily she had been positioned as the center of the story. You could almost hear the unspoken accusations. Betrayal hung between them like a thick fog. Each woman wrestled with conflicting emotions: anger, sadness, guilt, and frustration. Kody's calm voice tried to weave reassurance through the tension, but every word seemed to push the contradictions further into focus. The camera lingered on their faces, capturing micro-expressions that told more than words could. You feel the layers of emotion unfolding, the silent battles waged inside each heart. And then there were moments of jealousy, subtle but undeniable. Janelle's guarded glance at Robin, the protective posture Mary assumed, even Christine's measured observation, it all highlighted the fractures that money and manipulation had created over time. Loyalty collided with doubt, past affection mixed with current suspicion. The air seemed to crack with each exchange. Every so often, a small twist jolted the room. Kody tried to steer the conversation toward unity, and yet, in the same breath, reminded everyone of previous agreements that didn't match the current reality. The wives' reactions shifted from shock to hesitation, back to tension, like waves hitting jagged rocks. And with every heartbeat, the realization grew: this was no longer a private family discussion. The contradictions, the confessions, the silent judgments, they were all being watched, recorded, and analyzed. Outside the walls, the world waited. Social media was ready, screens poised to light up with clips and commentary. Every eyebrow raise, every tightened jaw, every pause would be scrutinized. The tension inside the house mirrored the storm building beyond it, and it was only about to get louder. As soon as the episode ended, the internet lit up like wildfire. Fans flooded Reddit, dissecting every frame, every glance, every subtle shift in tone. TikTok clips went viral in minutes, looping Robin's calm words about repayment against Janelle's stunned reaction. Twitter debates exploded, threads stretching for hundreds of replies, each user picking apart timelines, past episodes, and every tiny contradiction. You won't believe what people spotted next. Some viewers were already cross-referencing old seasons, noticing patterns that had gone under the radar for years. The public had become more than spectators. They were investigators, lawyers in armchairs, and amateur detectives all at once. Screenshots of confessionals were shared, slow-motion rewinds highlighted micro-expressions, and side-by-side comparisons of statements from different wives made it impossible to ignore the inconsistencies. Fans speculated about intent, about past loans and gifts, and about what these contradictions could mean legally. Every post, every comment, every clip added fuel to the fire. Some viewers were shocked. Some were outraged. Many expressed disbelief that private family conversations filmed for reality TV could carry such heavy implications. The tension wasn't contained to the screen anymore. It spilled into living rooms, into group chats, into every platform where Sister Wives fans gathered. People debated morality, loyalty, and now legality. They were piecing together a story that had been hiding in plain sight for years. Meanwhile, online communities began sharing their own timelines, tracking money transfers, and questioning who knew what and when. Questions circulated like wildfire. Did Kody orchestrate this deliberately? Were the wives aware of the contradictions? And most chillingly, what could happen if federal investigators noticed these public confessions? You could feel the weight building. The casual commentary had turned into serious speculation, and the excitement was mixed with a gnawing sense of unease. Every post, every tweet, every clip reinforced the same undeniable fact: nothing in that episode stayed private. And as the digital conversation grew louder, the possibility of legal consequences lingered just out of sight. Experts were already weighing in. Opinions ranged from mild concern to serious warnings. And while viewers debated, the family's contradictions remained captured forever on film, a public record that could not be erased. The episode doesn't just expose contradictions, it exposes people. Robin sits quietly, her calm exterior hiding the storm inside. You can see her weighing loyalty against suspicion, trying to hold the family together while doubt creeps in. Every word she says now carries extra weight, and every glance towards Kody feels loaded. She wants peace, but the cracks are impossible to ignore. Mary's frustration is quieter but just as sharp. Years of navigating a complicated family structure have taught her caution, yet this revelation hits differently. You can see the mix of confusion and betrayal flicker across her face. She trusted the story she was told, followed the plan she believed in, and now the rug has been pulled out from under her. Her mind races through every past conversation, trying to piece together what was real and what was carefully constructed. Janelle, ever pragmatic, reacts with a mix of disbelief and guarded anger. She's the one who remembers the financial arrangements most clearly: the loans, the expectations, the repayments. Watching Robin casually mention repayment is like seeing the truth carved in stone, impossible to ignore. Her eyes betray her shock before her words even form, and you can sense the simmering tension ready to boil over at any moment. Then there's Christine. Calm, precise, and unafraid, she watches everything with a clarity the others cannot reach. She names the contradictions aloud, laying the pattern bare. For years, she absorbed the manipulation silently. Now she speaks, and the effect is immediate. The room shifts. Faces tighten. Unspoken thoughts and suppressed doubts rise to the surface. You can feel the tension spike with every word she utters. Alliances start to shift subtly. Loyalties are tested, and silent judgments hang in the air. The truth is now undeniable, and everyone feels it. No one can ignore the pattern anymore. You can sense it in glances, in half-finished sentences, in the unspoken weight pressing down on the family. Every confession, every stare, every carefully measured word becomes a piece of the puzzle. And just as you think the emotional storm might settle, the episode leaves us hanging. The legal questions remain unresolved, and the family tension is far from over. The next episode promises that every hidden truth, every subtle manipulation will continue to surface, and the consequences could be more dramatic than anyone expects. The room falls into a tense silence as the episode winds down. Every contradiction, every manipulated story, every hidden repayment has been laid bare on national television. You can feel the weight of it in the way the wives sit, frozen, processing what they've just heard. Kody's charm and carefully worded explanations can no longer mask the truth. The manipulation is visible to everyone, and the stakes have never been higher. Christine's words echo in the quiet. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't cry. She simply named the pattern she had seen for years, and the impact is undeniable. You can see it in Robin, Mary, and Janelle. Their trust is fractured. Their sense of reality questioned. Their emotions raw. Each wife is left to reconcile her loyalty with the truth in front of millions of viewers. You feel the tension, almost as if you are there in the room, watching the subtle shifts, the glances, the hesitations. And then there's the legal shadow hanging over everything. The contradiction between a supposed gift and the repayment creates a ripple far beyond the family drama. On camera, it seems small, a single sentence, but the implications are massive. Mortgage fraud isn't something that disappears with a smile or a quick explanation. Federal regulations don't bend for family disputes or reality TV edits. The potential consequences are real, and now the evidence exists for the public to analyze, frame by frame, clip by clip. Social media has already picked up the pieces, connecting dots, replaying confessions, and spreading the story further than anyone could have imagined. The episode ends, but the story is far from over. The tension lingers like a thick fog. You're left wondering how each wife will respond, how Kody will maneuver, and whether trust can ever be rebuilt. Every interaction has changed. Every decision now carries extra weight. Nothing feels safe or predictable anymore, and the family's future is uncertain. Next time, the drama intensifies. Someone finally says enough, and the quiet cracks open into confrontation. The emotional storm that has been simmering for years is about to hit its boiling point. New revelations, hard truths, and tense confrontations await, and you'll want to see every second. And now, I want to hear from you. Do you think Christine made the right choice by speaking out? Would you have stayed silent? Or would you have confronted the contradictions head-on if you were in her shoes? Your opinion matters, and this conversation is just beginning. The family secrets are exposed, the legal questions are looming, and the emotional fallout is only getting started. The next episode promises more tension, more heartbreak, and more shocking truths, and you won't want to miss a single moment.